Okay, guys, so we're going to do this one right here, which is number 12 on your worksheet. This one is actually fun. It really makes you think for a while, which is good. You got to make sure that you understand that productive struggle is a good thing. It's okay to go down a path and it not turn out the way you thought it would. Perfectly okay, because then you learn stuff from it. So that's do not get discouraged. Just keep going with it. All right, so on this one, I'm going to try the top part first. I'm going to say 1 minus tangent squared x. And I'm going to turn the tangent squared into 1 over, now again, this is just the top part only. This is just the top part. So I'm going to turn that into 1 minus sine squared over cosine squared. Okay? Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to notice that this right here, if I could get 1 minus sine squared, then I've got an identity there, Pythagorean. So to do that, I've got to get a common denominator. My common denominator is going to be cosine squared. So that's going to be 1 is the same thing as saying cosine over cosine. Cosine squared over cosine squared. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to end up with cosine squared x minus sine squared x over cosine squared. All right, so then I'm going to be sitting here for a minute. I'm going to be like, oh, snap, that's a subtraction. And our identity said that we had to have an addition here in order to replace it with 1. So I'm going to hold off on this one for just a minute and see what I can do with the bottom. So I'm leaving him alone for a minute. Now I'm going to go over to the bottom one, okay? Oop, that's too close of a color. Let's do red. Okay, so we've got the red in the bottom. So that is 1 plus tangent squared. I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to turn that into 1 plus sine squared over cosine squared. Again, it's always good if you can work your way to sine and cosine. It's good to get down to the bottom part of it. Okay, again, I'm going to get a common denominator, 2 terms. I'm going to get a common denominator. Again, it's going to be cosine squared. So I'm going to do cosine squared plus sine squared over cosine squared. Okay? Now that's looking kind of fun right there. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to say that we're going to divide. We're dividing that. So I'm going to take the top. Let's do green. So I'm going to take the top, which is cosine minus sine over cosine. And I'm going to do keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. Now this piece right here, turning from here to here, that's your quotient theory, quotient identity. Here, changing from getting a common denominator, that's algebra. So that's the same for both of these. This is your quotient. This is algebra. And again, this is algebra right here. So this is algebra. I kind of combine the step right there. Okay, then divided by cosine squared plus sine squared x over cosine squared. Okay? Now I'm going to do algebra, keep, change, flip. Change, and then flip. All right, that's going to cross these two out right there. So that's a good thing. So now I have cosine squared x minus sine squared x over cosine squared x plus sine squared x. Now look, I do have an identity here. This is an identity. So that's going to be 1. So that's going to leave me with just this deal right here. So that's going to only leave me with cosine squared x minus sine squared x. Okay. Sorry. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, okay, we're trying to get everything down to sine squared x. All right, so I've got me a sine squared there, but this guy is a cosine, so can I get rid of it? Well, I can by using the trig identity cosine squared plus sine squared equals 1. I can change this by subtracting 1 sine squared from both sides. So that means cosine squared is really the same thing as 1 minus sine squared. So I'm going to substitute that in. I'm substituting this in right here. So that's going to give me 1 minus sine squared x minus sine squared x. Okay? See, this guy comes there. That guy gets replaced. Hey, snap, look, I've got two of the exact same thing. So like if I had 1 minus x, that's the same as saying 1 minus 2x. Combine like terms right there. So that's what I'm going to do right here. I'm going to combine like terms. 1 minus 2 sine squared x, and I'm done. This is the same as this up here. Okay. Now, if you're good with that, stop the video. You're fine. One of the things that we kind of did before, just thinking things through. We did this in class, so hold on. I'm going to escape this, and I'm going to keep, and then I'm going to take this little dude right there, move it, take this, copy, take this, move it back, insert a new slide. I'm going to kind of show you some of the things that didn't work. Okay, some of the things that that didn't work. So one of the things that we did is we did difference of two squares right here. So if I said 1 minus x squared, I can do that as 1 plus x and 1 minus x. So I'm going to do the same thing with the tangent. So I'm going to say 1 minus tangent squared is the same thing, snap, is the same thing, let me get eraser here, is the same thing as saying 1 minus tangent times 1 plus tangent over 1 plus tangent. Okay? So then that means I could take, I was trying to get it to where I could cancel this out. But because this is a tangent squared, I can't do it. I can't do it. Because this is not the same as this. And I kind of went down a yellow brick road there for a minute thinking, well, yes, it is the same thing, but it's not. So you can't be canceling that stuff out right there. Okay, so that didn't work. So that didn't work. So now we tried a different thing. We tried to figure out, okay, can I take this right here and make that tangent squared over tangent. I think that's what we were doing. Minus tangent squared over 1. We took that right there. Well, then that gave us tangent to the 4th over tangent squared. That didn't do me a whole lot of good. Well, it kind of might have. No. This would be, sorry. I'm trying to remember what we did on that one. Then take this and get a common denominator, which would be tangent squared minus tangent to the 4th over tangent squared. Well, that still doesn't get me too far. So that didn't work too well. Then we tried to figure out if we could get this guy to 1 minus, could use the Pythagorean of cosine squared minus sine squared, or plus sine squared, and get that to somehow be replaced with 1. So then again, we're trying to do the 1 minus tangent squared. And so somebody used the 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared, so tried to work it out with that. Well, since this is 1 plus, then we had trouble here because we could say we could take this 1 to the other side, is what they're saying. Okay. Then if we can make this a negative, because that's a negative right there, so that would be multiplying everybody by -1, so that would give us negative tangent squared equals negative secant squared plus 1. So that means I can replace this with negative secant squared. So I'd have to say minus parentheses. Oh, no. Snap, no. Just replacing that whole thing with secant squared x plus 1. Okay. Then that's going to be that plus that. So that's 2 minus secant squared x. And then we had some problems there because then that would have been 1 over cosine squared x. Then that kind of would have messed us up a little bit too. So going these 3 routes, not a terrible thing, but they didn't work to what we needed them to go to. So, but you know, there's ways you can go back through and just think them down, think through. It's awesome. It's a puzzle. Okay. I hope that helped a little bit. Again, if you want to know the way that worked, here it is right here. Here's the top part. Here's the bottom part. And then there's keep, change, flip, cancel, and then work our way from here. I replaced the cosine squared with 1 minus sine squared. That was good. Okie dokie. Thank you, guys.